Welcome, and subscribe to our YouTube channel where we tell stories about marriages and betrayals. Subscribe and be a part of us so you can enjoy thrilling stories like this one. My name is Robert Calloway, and I never set out to become an accidental master of espionage. But that's exactly what happened when I uncovered the shocking truth about my wife, Julia. We had been married for 18 years, and in all that time, I never once questioned her love for me. Julia and I had met in college, two young souls drawn together by late-night study sessions and shared dreams of the future. She was studying to become a journalist, while I was knee-deep in computer science, fascinated by encryption, firewalls, and all things cybersecurity. She had this way of making the world feel brighter, of turning mundane moments into memories that lasted a lifetime. I fell for her the way a man falls into destiny, completely and without hesitation. Our love was the kind that novels were written about. We understood each other on a level that transcended words. When I got my first job as a security analyst, Julia was there celebrating with me in our tiny apartment with a cheap bottle of champagne and takeout Chinese food. When she published her first article in a major newspaper, I read it over and over, marveling at the way her words painted a picture so vivid it felt alive. We built our life together, brick by brick, and when we had our daughter, Emma, followed by our son, Caleb, it felt like we had reached the pinnacle of happiness. Our children were our greatest pride. Emma, 15, was brilliant beyond her years, a voracious reader who could debate philosophy as easily as she could recite the lyrics to her favorite pop songs. Caleb, 13, was quieter but no less sharp, his mind always lost in the intricate mechanics of whatever gadget he was taking apart and putting back together. Our home was filled with laughter, with inside jokes and family movie nights, with a kind of warmth that made the world outside feel irrelevant. And Julia, she was the glue that held it all together. She was fierce, passionate, and unwaveringly devoted. At least, that's what I had always believed. It all started on an otherwise ordinary Wednesday. I came home early from my job as a cybersecurity consultant, my mind still occupied with a new encryption protocol I was working on. The house was quiet, save for the faint sound of Julia's voice drifting down from our bedroom. Something about her tone immediately unsettled me. It was soft, sultry, almost secretive. "Yes, I miss you already," she whispered. "I can't wait for next time. I'll find a way." My heart clenched. I took a silent step forward, straining to hear more. "No, he suspects nothing," she continued, a light chuckle following. "He never does. That's what makes this so easy." I felt as if the floor had vanished beneath me. My Julia, the woman I had loved and trusted for nearly 2 decades, was talking to someone in a way she never spoke to me. My fingers curled into fists as a wave of nausea rolled over me. I edged up the stairs, careful not to make a sound. The bedroom door was slightly ajar, allowing me a clear view inside. Julia stood in front of her vanity, her phone pressed to her ear, a small smile on her lips. She was wearing a sleek black dress, one I didn't recognize, with a slit that traveled dangerously high up her thigh. "Tomorrow night, same place?" she asked, her voice hushed. "I'll send the signal." "Signal?" The word sent a ripple of unease through me. This wasn't just an affair. This was something else entirely. She ended the call and tossed her phone onto the bed. I retreated quickly, ducking into the hallway bathroom before she noticed me. My heart hammered as I processed what I had just heard. Who was she talking to? What kind of signal was she referring to? I had spent my career in cybersecurity, uncovering secrets hidden within encrypted code. But nothing in my years of experience prepared me for discovering a secret buried within my own marriage. Looking back, maybe there had been signs. The occasional late-night text she would quickly dismiss as a message from an old friend. The business trips that seemed to increase in frequency, always justified by an exclusive story she was chasing. The moments when she seemed distant, lost in thoughts she never shared with me. But I had never suspected this. I had never doubted her loyalty, her love. Julia and I had built a life on trust, on the belief that we were in this together. I felt my pulse quicken, my mind racing through possibilities. Could it be an affair? Or was it something even darker? The word signal clung to my thoughts like a parasite. It wasn't the kind of term one used in a casual affair. It implied planning, strategy, something bigger than just betrayal. I exhaled slowly, steadying myself. This wasn't a time to let emotions take over. If there was one thing I had learned in my line of work, it was that information was power. And right now, I had very little of it. I needed to know more. I needed proof. As I stood in that dimly lit hallway, my entire world crumbling around me, I made a decision. I was going to find out exactly what my wife was hiding, and nothing was going to stop me. The first thing I did was access Julia's phone records from our shared family account. It felt like a betrayal, a breach of trust one never imagined myself committing. But the nagging doubt in my mind wouldn't let go, and suspicion gnawed at me like a parasite. The records showed a number she had called frequently over the past 6 months, always at odd hours. Late at night, early in the morning, times when she should have been asleep beside me. My pulse quickened. I copied the number and dialed it from a burner phone, my fingers trembling slightly. 1 ring. 2. Straight to voicemail. An automated robotic voice, devoid of any identifying features. No name, no message, just a cold, empty prompt. Please leave a message after the tone. I hung up, exhaling slowly. This wasn't normal. If it were a coworker, a friend, even a lover, there would be something, an introduction, a personal touch. But this felt deliberate, purposefully anonymous. I needed more. That night, I did something I never thought I'd have to do. I planted a small recording device in our bedroom. Hidden within the base of her bedside lamp, it was nearly invisible. The software on it was top tier, something I had designed myself for corporate espionage cases. It would capture all audio within a 20-foot radius and sync the files to a secure server only I could access. I had always thought of my skills as something I used for work, for uncovering fraud and deception in the business world. Now, I was using them against my own wife. Julia was distant that night. She moved through her usual routine mechanically, brushing her teeth and setting out clothes she was preparing to wear. But she wasn't really there. Her mind was somewhere else. "Everything okay?" I asked, testing her. "Yeah," she said with a small smile, though it didn't reach her eyes. I nodded, but said nothing more. If she was lying, I needed proof before I confronted her. After a few minutes, Julia left the house in a hurry, claiming she had an outing with her girls. Her tone was light, casual, but something about the way she avoided my gaze set me on edge. As soon as she was gone, I pulled up the live feed from the tracker I had installed in her car the night before. It was a last-minute decision, something I had debated, but now, as I watched the tiny blinking dot on the screen of my laptop, I felt justified. She was going elsewhere. She drove downtown, weaving through traffic with a precision that felt too calculated. My stomach tightened as she finally pulled up outside a sleek, nondescript office building. No signs, no logos. Just tinted windows and a heavy, steel-reinforced door. My mind raced. This wasn't a hotel. It wasn't a cafe where she might be meeting a lover. This was something else, something official. I grabbed my keys and followed. Parking a block away, I kept my distance, moving carefully through the crowd as I approached the building. From the shadows of a nearby alley, I watched as Julia stepped out of her car, glancing around as if checking for something or someone. Then, With a deep breath, she walked inside. Minutes passed. I checked my watch. 5, 10. My heartbeat pounded in my ears. Then she emerged. She wasn't alone. A man walked beside her, tall and broad-shouldered, dressed in a dark suit and sunglasses. Government? Private security? He carried himself with authority, his posture rigid, movements precise. Even from a distance, I could see that this was no ordinary meeting. They exchanged a few words. Then, with a glance over his shoulder, the man handed her a small, inconspicuous envelope. Julia hesitated before taking it, her fingers clutching the paper like it was something fragile. Then she nodded, whispered something I couldn't hear, and turned away, heading back toward her car. I shrank deeper into the shadows, my mind spinning. What was in the envelope? Who was this man? Why was my wife meeting with someone who looked like he belonged in a classified government file? I clenched my fists. This wasn't just an affair. This was something bigger, something deeper, something dangerous. I needed to find out the truth. I didn't go home. Not yet. Instead, I waited until Julia had driven off before stepping out of the alley, my hands shoved deep into my pockets to steady myself. I needed a closer look at that building. The entrance was locked. No surprise there. A security camera was positioned above the door, its red light blinking steadily. I made a mental note of its placement. No markings on the glass, no directory posted outside. Just an address. I snapped a quick photo with my phone and stepped away before anyone inside could take notice. Back in my car, I ran the address through a background search. The results were vague. The building was registered to a shell corporation, one with no real online footprint, no reviews, no history. Just an anonymous holding company with ties to other, equally faceless entities. My unease deepened. This wasn't just suspicious. It was deliberate obfuscation. Someone wanted to keep this place off the radar. I checked the recording from our bedroom device next. Scrubbing through hours of silence, I finally hit pay dirt. Julia had made a call. Her voice was low, urgent. I met with him. I have the package. A pause, then a voice on the other end, distorted and nearly unrecognizable. Good. You know what to do next. A sharp intake of breath. Are you sure this is safe? A click. The line went dead. I sat there, gripping the phone, heart hammering against my ribs. This wasn't an affair. This was something much, much worse. That next day, I waited at home. Sitting in the dimly lit living room, drink in hand, I replayed the footage on my phone, over and over, analyzing every detail. Was this really just an affair? Or was there something even more sinister happening? My mind raced with possibilities. I needed answers. I was going to get them. Moments later, I heard the keys in the door. My pulse quickened. Julia stepped inside, and as soon as she saw me sitting there, her entire body tensed. She froze in the doorway like a deer caught in headlights. "Robert," she said, hesitant. I gestured toward the couch. "Sit." She hesitated, but eventually complied, lowering herself onto the cushions with cautious movements. I could see it in her eyes. She knew something was wrong. "Where were you yesterday night?" I asked, keeping my voice calm, controlled. She blinked, then recovered quickly. "I told you I was going out with my friends." I shook my head. "Try again." Her face remained impassive. "I followed you, Julia." I leaned forward, locking eyes with her. "I know you weren't with your friends. I saw you meet with that man." Her face paled, just for a second, before she masked it with a forced laugh. "Robert, are you spying on me? This is ridiculous." I didn't say anything. Instead, I pulled up my phone and hit play. Her own voice filled the room, soft but urgent, speaking in hushed tones during a late-night call. The cryptic words, the mention of the package, the way she told someone she was being careful. When the recording ended, silence stretched between us. Her expression hardened. You wouldn't understand. Try me." For a long moment, she didn't speak. The tension was thick, suffocating. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "I work for the government." I frowned, trying to process her words. "What?" She sighed, rubbing her temples. "It started years ago, long before we were married. I was recruited straight out of college. My job was simple: gather intelligence, maintain a low profile. But something changed recently. My superiors gave me a new mission, a dangerous one, and I couldn't tell you." My breath caught. "Why?" "Because knowledge makes you a target." A cold chill spread through me. "Who was that man? What's in the package?" My voice was hoarse, barely steady. She hesitated. "I can't tell you everything, but I swear to you, I'm not cheating on you. The man you saw today is my handler." The package, it contains information about a potential threat, a cyber attack, one that could cripple the country. I exhaled slowly, my mind still spinning. "You had me thinking I was losing my mind, Julia. I thought you were sneaking around with someone else." She reached for my hand. "I know, and I'm sorry. I never wanted to lie to you, but it was necessary." I looked at her, the woman I'd spent nearly 2 decades with, the woman I thought I knew better than anyone. And yet, she had been living a double life right under my nose. A spy. My wife was a damn spy. And somehow, despite everything, I believed her. I let out a shaky laugh. "So what happens now?" She squeezed my hand tighter. Now, I make sure they don't come after you. Because if they know you've been snooping, you'll be in danger too." A shiver ran down my spine. I had set out to catch a cheating wife. Instead, I had stumbled into an espionage thriller. And now, there was no turning back. If you enjoyed this story, ensure you like, subscribe, and share the video to your friends. I'm sure you were expecting the wife to cheat, or not. I'll see you in the next video.